pay you to learn. I want you to work the front desk at my office. You can watch all the successful agents. You can also watch all the non-successful agents, see what they do, see how they act. You can learn from them and you'll get paid to learn. And mind you all, I took a pay cut to go work the front desk at the real estate office. That was part of my transition. And then the other part is while I was doing that, I actually started my own internet marketing company because I wanted a residual income. So you'll notice on my LinkedIn profile that I am still founder, owner of Calcoast Web Design, and I work as a real estate agent. So what that did was that allowed me some immediate income, and then it also allowed me the ability, because I was still meeting people, because when you own your own business, you can work it however much or little you want, to cause and create things in real estate. So, and this is where you guys gotta be careful though. Because what happens is you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna take this little like $10 an hour job, and that's gonna help me do real estate. And then what you do is you justify not doing the most important activities to make money as a real estate agent because you're busy doing your $10 an hour job. So be careful. I'm not like, you have to work and you have to make money. Most people can't save 6 months worth of income just coming out of college. I don't expect that of you guys, but I mean, there's all kinds of stuff they didn't have when I was doing this. Like, I didn't have the opportunity to be a Lyft or an Uber driver. Like, you guys can go do that. Like, you meet some people in the cars, when you're driving them around. So think about things that you can do to make a supplemental income that aren't going to, because that's the other thing, when you have talents, a boss is going to want to put you in a certain realm. Like, they would have loved me to stay at the front desk at Metro Estates forever. That would have been perfect for, what they needed at that company. But you have to know what's inside of you, and you have to believe in yourself and go out and do these things that are a lot of times scary when you're first getting into the industry. So I think that's another reason why I recommend you guys to align yourselves with a team, because when you are talking to your mentor, their confidence and their knowledge will start to come back to you, and then you'll seem more confident when you talk to people. It's interesting. I always say one of the things is you don't have to know it all, and don't pretend like you know it all, but what you do have to do is be one step ahead of your client. So that means always knowing what the latest apps are that they're looking at when it comes time to find real estate. Like, where are your clients at? Are they on Redfin or are they on Trulia? Like, I first heard about Redfin from a client. And it's like, anytime a client tells you what they're using as their platform, then you want to get familiar with these types of things. So real estate, you've got so many things to be familiar with. You don't just get to be like, oh, I understand the contract. Congratulations, you understand the contract. But there's a million other things that you have to be familiar with in order to get that contract, which is the market and what's going on with loans at this point in time, and what's going on with just public opinion on real estate. I loved on this little square thing that NAREP has. This has got a lot of good points for your life as a real estate agent, by the way, you guys. But having a mature understanding of wealth and prosperity, like, that's so important for you and for you to pass along to your clients. So don't just try to sell real estate. Aim to become a trusted advisor in your real estate profession, because that's when you're really truly going to have the difference that you want to make in people's lives. Is, none of us, like, how many times you guys had a conversation with your friend about, something that's going on in their life, and you give them all this great advice and then they take 0 of it. And you're like, well, dude, that was a waste of time. So the same thing will happen to you as a real estate agent if you're not a trusted advisor. If your clients perceive you as simply a salesperson or an order taker, you won't get that trust and respect. And it's not even that you need the respect. Let's put that aside for the minute. But if they don't trust you, then they're going to make decisions that are against what you're advising them. And then what happens for both of you? You're going to have a bad time. It's going to suck in the deal, because trust is like the most important thing. So make sure that you guys got that going on. So once you found your team that you're aligned with and everything is going there, and I think of it, even if they don't pay you what you think you're worth right now, remember you're getting paid to learn from somebody that's successful. That's priceless right there. So, don't come in expecting that you're gonna make, $30,000, $50,000 being somebody's real estate assistant without proving yourself. It ultimately comes down to, I won't make $30,000 or $50,000 this year unless I close deals. And if you want to be somebody's quality assistant, you need to assist them in closing deals, and then your pay scale will change accordingly. And then ideally what that person will do is, rather than keep you down and keep you as the way that they can, just have their time off, is they're going to train you so that you can do this with your own team at some day, at some point in time when you're comfortable and when you feel financially fit to do that. So make sure that you've got those strategic relationships aligned, you guys. I can't explain how important those are. And then let's talk about your niche of real estate. So a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm gonna do this geographic farm. And that's fine. If you want to sell all around Citrus College, that's a great place to do things. But it's not always about a geographic farm, and I encourage you to think deeper. Think about yourself right now. Why do you want to own a home? What makes homeownership important to you? Think about a demographic possibly that you can align yourself with, that you have a similar attitude as right now, and you guys can start to do deals together. So when I first came into the industry, I was 23 years old. My biggest comment was, you look like my kid. I can't trust you to buy or sell a home. So what did I do? I started working with first-time buyers because I looked like them, and they wanted to talk to somebody that looked like them. They didn't want to talk to the stuffy suit that knew everything about real estate. They wanted to talk to the real girl that bought her first property at 19 years old, was still pounding the pavement, and was off and running. And so think about what type of a demographic. It doesn't have to be for your niche or your farm. Go with your passion. So maybe your passion is you want to be the next house flipper out there. So then you want to start targeting investors, and you want to start knowing what all the good properties are to potentially flip in a certain area, and then start sharing those on social media and all that kind of thing. So make sure that you don't just pick an area based off of geographic. I think that ultimately successful real estate goes deeper than just a certain area. And then plus too, you don't know when times are going to change. You don't know for sure when you're going to be moving or whatever. I mean, things are going to happen in your life, and if you're okay, this is going to be my farm community for the rest of my life because I live in it, and then something happens like illness or death or divorce or relocation of a significant other, then you might have to start over again if all you focus on is a geographic area. So make sure that you're building deeper bonds with people on levels that are even further than where they live. Because, and I will tell you, it's great to work with first-time buyers in the beginning. A lot of real estate agents don't like first-time buyers because they're kind of go their own way a lot of times. They don't know who to trust. They are this is such a big thing. This is my money. I'm putting down $30,000. I get to call all the shots, and all of that. It's an interesting type of real estate agent to be able to understand that psychology of a first-time buyer and be able to assist them and guide them without bossing over them, so to speak, or being bossed around by them. This is a fine line that you walk as a tightrope when you're a real estate agent, because if clients don't think that you're on their side, then they're not going to want to work with you. But sometimes you have to be the bearer of bad news or be the honest person in this transaction if they're in Lululand. I have people call, I've got a listing right now. I get 30 calls a week on it. It is a mobile home listing for $90,000 that is a walk to the ocean. And everybody goes, oh my God, really? Why? Well, it's because there's a catch to that listing. And there's certain things that are going on about that listing that are really important for people to know. And there's a valid reason of why it's $90,000. So those types of things, like, you don't want to just come in as an agent and be like, yeah, it's your price, let's buy it. Like, you have to help them look through all of the nitty gritty and all of the potential pitfalls on this first time buyer property, so that they don't get into a situation where when the market turns, it's going to end up being a short sale or a foreclosure, and then you're going to end up being the bad guy. Because a lot of times when you're the realtor, you get crucified for things that happen on all different levels of the deal. Escrow messes up, buyer thinks it's your fault. Lender messes up, buyer thinks it's your fault. Other side messes up, buyer thinks it's your fault. So these are all things that you have to juggle as an agent, and you have to be careful not to be that agent that points fingers at everybody. Like, I cannot stand that when I'm talking to somebody on the other side of the deal and they're pointing fingers in every which direction. Like, what your job is as a real estate agent is not to be a finger pointer, it's to be a freaking problem solver. It doesn't matter who dropped the ball, your job is to pick it up and get it closed. So if you always remember that on behalf of your clients, they will come back to you, because they are not looking for all the drama that goes around in the deal. And that was one of my mistakes I made as a newer agent. I would just give them the entire play-by-play, and now this is happening, and now this is happening, and now this is happening. Half of those things are not going to give them any better of a real estate transaction. So why are you bothering to tell them that? Why are you wasting your air on that? Waste your time and energy, or not waste it, but invest your time and energy doing something more positive that's going to keep everybody happy in the deal. So I'm not saying you need to cover for other people, but what I did a few years ago, back when the market turned, is I kind of committed to doing both sides of the transaction for the sake of my client. And would you be willing to work for half the money? Most of us are like, no, but the bottom line is if that deal doesn't close, you get no money. So if you have to do the other agent's side so that you get your paycheck in the end, you get paid in the end. If you refuse to do the other agent's side, then that deal falls out. You get to pay more gas, you get to go show more homes, you get to spend more time. What if it happens again? The next agent's an idiot. Oh, I've never seen that happen before. Then it falls out again. Like, so just, you know, and never treat anybody like, remember, your first deal in real estate, somebody's gonna be nice and help you, you're gonna make some mistakes or whatever. You turn around and give that same courtesy and grace to other people as you go through the industry. And if you can tell they're new, don't walk all over them, don't give them a hard time, don't give them hell because they're new. Come alongside them and help them to be better. And that's how we can all be in the industry together if we have this common ground of the best interest of our clients. And sometimes the best interest of our clients is really not doing a deal, and that's okay too. But it's important, you know, if you're working in conjunction with another agent, to let these people know these things, because again, there's boxes being packed and offers being made and all of that while people are in their indecisive mode. So make sure that you're just really looking out for the best interest of your clients. I can't say it enough. Like, if you're going into real estate because you think you can work 4 hours a week and you think that you're going to make 6 figures a year, then please don't come into the industry, because it's not going to be fun for you, and it's, you know, it's just going to be a train wreck. You have to be willing to put in, I would say for the first 5 years, I probably put in 60 to 80 hours a week, because I had the other business and I had this one going on. Like, I wasn't messing around. I was busy doing important things that were gonna kind of just move me forward for the long term. So let's look at those a little bit too, because you guys, you know, you're gonna get so many calls from so many salespeople, and as soon as you get your license, they're gonna be like, oh, Zillow's gonna be like, oh, do you want to be our premier agent? And Trulia is gonna be like, we have this, and then Bing's gonna be like, you can be on our pay-per-click, and then everybody everywhere is gonna call you and want you to buy something. So one thing that I can tell you, especially with my background owning an internet marketing company, the leads that you generate are no worse than the leads that you pay for with Zillow and Trulia and all of those other sites. So your challenge to yourself should be, how can I generate leads on my own without having to pay all these sources? I'm not saying you can't pay the sources and that you shouldn't, but I'm saying that you shouldn't be, what's the word? You shouldn't have to pay those sources to get your business, because then you're putting yourself in a danger zone. When the market crashes, you're not gonna get a memo and you're not gonna get a pink slip. You're just gonna work your ass off and you're not gonna get paid. So that's what you have to be prepared for. And if you don't have that in mind, then it's gonna be rough for you again, because if you're used to chucking out $1,500 to $2,000 a month on marketing and getting all of these leads in, and then what happens when you don't have the $1,500 to $2,000 a month anymore? Do you see how that's like a totally vicious downward spiral that can never end? So make sure that you're doing things that will generate you leads. Having a proper website, you guys could all be building that right now. Content is king with Google. Google loves good information. So you're learning a ton of it. Like every time, and this, I don't get this about other real estate agents, but almost anytime I go to an educational type of a seminar, you'll see me on my little computer furiously typing away. It's not because I'm emailing other clients or whatever. I'm literally drafting a blog post right now about what I'm learning that I turn around and put up on my website so that Google can find it. And then I turn around and I share that on my social outlets so that my sphere knows that I'm always educating myself and that there's something new to be learned in real estate, and that they, are looking for this positive information from me. And that's another thing you gotta be careful with too, like sharing negative information about real estate. You can always find positive and negative information out there. My goal is always for my clients to have a positive perception of real estate, so it is extremely rare that I'm gonna share something negative, because that's for the rest of the world to do. You can find it out there if you want it, but I'm gonna be the one that's gonna share positive things about homeownership and why you should own a home and why it's not that terrible of a market, or why interest rates are okay, all of those types of things. Some people immediately judge you, but other people, most of the time, they're like, they're fine. As long as you don't immediately rub them the wrong way and turn them off, then they're open to working with you in the future. So how can you earn their business in the future? It's by doing consistent little things like that, by always sharing positive information, by always educating them, by always being helpful, by not being salesy. All of these little things are gonna help you build up that sphere that's going to help you as an agent. And then I can't express how important it is to continue your education either, you guys. Like I started real estate in 2003, and those first 4 years was insanity. Like I was doing the online marketing, I was raking in leads hand over fist, I was closing deals, I was making a good amount of money, and then all of a sudden everything changed with loans, and people couldn't get a loan anymore unless you had 20% down. Well, you remember my niche at the time? It was the first-time buyers. Do most first-time buyers have 20% down? The answer is no. So I was up a creek. So what I had to do was literally relearn my entire job and strategy. Like when you're working with one type of person in one type of market, don't get your ego big thinking you know it all, because every market's different and you have to learn how to navigate each and every market. If I did the things that I did in the hot market during the slow time, I would have been doing a terrible disservice to my clients. So it's about learning not just your principles or your practices of real estate, but what are the realities of real estate today? What does it take to get a house today? How do you close an escrow on a short sale when half of the agents didn't even know what the heck a short sale was, let alone a bank rep, and those are the ones that you're dealing with. Like, these are all things that, you know, be prepared to constantly be learning and growing. And what's cool about, you know, joining a good real estate association, like I'm a member of OCAR, there's other ones, you know, Power, other ones out there, but when you're a member of a good association, a lot of times they will provide you guys with classes where you can go and for $20 or for free, learn from somebody who is smarter than you about what's going on in today's market. And that's the thing, like you know, I got into it in my early 20s, so I didn't remember market crashes previous, but then you hear all the old ducks talking about, oh yeah, this happened in the 80s or whatever. Like, listen to those people, because unfortunately for all of us, history does repeat itself. So there are plenty of wisdoms to be learned from people that have been in the real estate industry for 30, 40 years. And those people want to team up with you guys as students, because they don't understand Instagram, they don't have the Nextdoor app, they don't, you know, do Snapchat. They want to work with you because you understand a certain level of the new way of they're supposed to do business that they probably don't have to embrace because they've got plenty of referrals in their sphere. So, you know, never be afraid to go alongside with an agent that's older in the industry, and don't think that just, you know, because the way that they do things is quote unquote old school, that it can't be a fit for you. Like, one of the things my broker taught me in my first year in real estate is, Angie, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to take what somebody else is doing and make it better. So on that level, if your broker likes to door knock all the time and you're not down with the door knockage, then you can show them a virtual way to door knock via Facebook ads or whatever it is, you know, or you can teach them about, you know, these trade associations like NAREP and all, you know, ARIA and YPN and all of that type of stuff, where you can, you know, turn around and get business by, if rather than knocking on 50 doors, well, I, you know, shook 50 hands at my Latif group this morning, and that's just as good, you know? So, yeah.
What's your favorite way of doing it?
I like social a lot, and I like homeownership day. So I don't know if Kendrick has told you guys about homeownership day, but that's an event that Chapman College puts on every year, or Chapman University, sorry, they're two different things. Sorry. With YPN and the Orange County Register, and it's a yearly event where we basically bring in all kinds of different public on all kinds of different levels to teach them about how to own homes better. So, you know, buying property, selling property, moving up. I teach a class called the Automatic Millionaire Homeowner. So I like to generate my leads through education and teaching. I feel like I'm not like that sales girl. Like, you won't catch me like on the phone like da-da-da script, super smooth, not my thing. Like, but that doesn't mean that you guys shouldn't do that. Like, if you're great with memorizing scripts and all of that, cool, do it. Like, you know, because I bought real estate at such a young age, what I wanted in a real estate agent was somebody that would listen to me, and somebody that would educate me, and somebody that was going to be on my side. So I think that I probably revert to what I wanted in an agent and try to be what I wanted, because I figure, hey, there's probably other people like me out there in the world. So, but I see a lot of successful people doing open houses. You know, you can do calls, you can do mass texts, you can do meetup events, you can hang out on the Nextdoor app all day. Like, that's the cool thing about where we're at now in technology and society. You guys have options that like weren't even there 5 years ago, you know, 10 years ago. So it's really cool. I'm going on my 13th year in real estate right now, and it's interesting to see it evolve and to see some things, you know, never change, but other things, they change so fast, you're just like, oh, wow, you know, that one passed me by. So I would say, think about who you are as a person. You know, do you like to talk on the phone, like, or do you prefer texting? Like, they say that most millennial generation prefers to text. So one of the things that I'm constantly talking with my assistant and, you know, partners about is understanding the different generations. Like that's a whole nother thing. Like you have to understand that a baby boomer probably wants to talk to you on the phone. A baby boomer, the first time that they meet you, they expect you to be, you know, clean cut, nicely dressed, you know, pressed shirt, maybe a, you know, a jacket coat or a tie. That's what a baby boomer generation, when they were meeting with a professional, that's how they were raised and that's what they expect. Then you've got, you know, the Gen X, like they're kind of in the middle. Like they'll talk on the phone a little bit, but they don't want to talk on the phone all the time. They want to text you sometimes. They want to email you. Some people want to communicate almost 100% via email. So make sure that you're not trying to corral your potential clients over to your preferred method of communication, and so you can text them all day or whatever. Like you'll lose clients that way. So the bottom line is, you know, my coach used to tell me, like, Angie, if you want that deal, you have to pass that blockade to get the deal. So do you want the deal bad enough? Sometimes the blockade is going to be like, you know, on my 55 plus community, God love them, these people call me and they want to talk for 5+ minutes about why they don't want the property. And I'm like, you don't want it? Okay, thanks, bye. But that's my generation. Like we're a little bit more hurried than they are. They want to talk it out. So it's, you know, and that's fine. But if you don't understand that, you're not going to be able to work with other generations other than your own. And then if something happens, like if you guys are just working with, you know, millennial generation, and something happens where, you know, heaven forbid, like 7-8 years ago, where you've got to put 20% down to get a loan, then you've just ixnayed your entire target market and sphere, and now what are you going to do? So make sure that you kind of, you know, start to understand the generations, and there's different things that'll help you impress them, like, you know, the younger generations want to know that you have a cause. They want to know that you do something in the community. They want to know that you're not just out for your own paycheck. But you know, some of the older generations, they're wanting to know, you know, about your experience and how long you've been in the industry, because they were career people that had the same, you know, job forever. So think about all these things as you're talking with these potential prospects of yours, so that you can create that connection with them, and know that those generational differences are super important to understand if you are going to sell to all types of people in real estate. Like just beyond important. It's funny, you'll laugh about them some days. I want to tell you guys a couple books that I think are good to read. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That one's really important. And E-Myth Revisited. That one's good. And The Go-Giver.
Sorry, what was the first one?
7 Methods of Highly Effective People. Or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, sorry. E-Myth Revisited and The Go-Giver. Maybe not in that order of reading, but, you know, basically 7 Habits is about ways that you can always be on your top game as a real estate agent. Great info. And then E-Myth is about ways that you can understand a corporate culture and build a team so that you're not building yourself into your own jail box. The E-Myth is my business Bible. I highly recommend it. Like, the book changed my life after I read it. I go, holy shit, I'm doing it all wrong. So, like, you know, read the book so that you don't have that moment years into it. Yes?
How do you spell that? I'm sorry.
The E-Myth?
Yeah.
I'll write it down. I can do that. E-Myth Revisited, 7 Habits. You know what's changed so much since school? Like, my writing is so much worse now that I text all day long. hopefully I can abbreviate for you guys, and then Go Giver. So Go Giver is about ways that you can really make a difference and be kind of a better person in your industry. Highly recommend it. Yeah, question?
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is that focused around real estate, or is that just
No.
habits in general?
It's habits in general. So that's good for, you know, no matter what level of anything you want to be in, that book is just good in general. If you want one that's really great for real estate, I like Life by Design. And that's by the famous Tom Ferry. Have you guys heard of Tom Ferry?
No.
He's like the thing when it comes to real estate coaches right now. So everybody's on a Tom Ferry kick, but he wrote this book a few years ago, and it's kind of, it talks about some of the things that I touch on, you know, not letting your work control you, but you controlling your work and what that looks like. Because most of us are just trained to, you know, go to school, get a job, and work, right? And we don't know too much more about what that looks like, and a lot of us have a goal of I want to make a certain number of zeros every year, or whatever that might be. But really, life is so much more than your job and your salary. So that book helps you kind of realize, you know, all types of different levels of designing your life in a way that's going to make it so that you want to live it and live it to the fullest. And it was neat because I was a couple of things that I had a few aha moments this summer. Like I went and bought my grandparents' property in Michigan, and that was something that my sister and I have wanted to buy that property for probably 15 years. So the time finally came, and time to purchase the property, and I'm sitting there like, and everything went wrong. Like you think, you know real estate, go do a deal in a different state. Tons of fun. So, and with your emotional family that is for saling by owner, also tons of fun. And you'll realize that there's just, I don't know, there's so much more to life than just buying and selling. It's about all of the things that happen once you do these buys and sells. It's the family in the home, and you know, all of the opportunities that particular property arises for you. And one of the things in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey's talking about, you know, we all, there's a quadrant with, you know, you have a grid with 4 quadrants, and most people spend their time working on urgent matters instead of important matters. And you can spend your entire life working on urgent matters. And if you never get over to important, then you never feel significant, because all you're doing is spinning your wheels in urgency and, you know, drama and whatever's coming up over here. So it was like, I was starting to get down on myself, because I was like, okay, Angie, what business do you have to literally take 6 weeks off of work? You're 38 years old. Who does this? Like, and who expects that they can, you know, maintain after you're like, just, oh yeah, I'm taking the summer off. I'm just gonna go buy this property over here across the country and whatever. And then I realized after listening to the book that I was handling an important matter, not an urgent matter. And it was like, oh, you have this revelation and you're justified in doing what you did. And it was kind of neat, like, and it's back to the Life by Design book. I also realized, I was like, what real estate agent can go out of town for 6 weeks and still close deals? Well, this one, because I designed my life to be that way. I make sure all of my documents are in the cloud. I make sure all of my clients sign everything via DocuSign. I make sure that I keep in regular touch with email and social communications and all of those types of things. And while I was gone, I was still able to open escrows and close 3. So that's what I'm hoping, you know, will inspire you guys. And it might not be that you want to go away 6 weeks. You know, I don't know what it is that you want to do, but think about what it is that you want to do for for your life as a real estate agent, and know that it shouldn't be to work 80 hours a week. You have more to give to the world than just through that work, and think about what those things are. Like for me, this, that property that I bought with my sister, in that goal, that was just something that we've wanted forever. And there's another book I'll tell you to read, and you should give this to all of your clients, and that's The Automatic Millionaire Homeowner. I'll tell you a little bit about the concept of this book, because this is something that will impress your clients when you're, talking with them. But the Automatic Millionaire Homeowner basically states that you should purchase a property as soon as you can with the means that you have, but not go outside of your means. And then once you live in that property to the point where you've saved enough down payment where you can purchase another property without selling the first one, you buy the second one. And what basically happens over time through that is you've bought your first property, let's say it's 300 grand, and you live in it until you can buy another 300 grand property. Now, of course, the second 300 grand property is going to be better than the first one, not necessarily because times are going to be better or prices are going to be cheaper, but because from when you buy a property, you learn things that you don't want in a property. So then you buy the next property, you avoid all those things. Oh, I didn't like the parking. I didn't like that this was like this, or I didn't like, whatever it is that you don't like. So then you turn around and you buy a second 300K property, and you rent this one out. And once you do that, basically somebody else pays down your entire mortgage for you while you're living in this property paying down your entire mortgage. And then you keep repeating the process. And you don't always have to only buy 300,000. Someday you'll get a little more money and make more. But do you see how doing this creates a portfolio of $1 million automatically? And obviously, as a real estate agent, you get paid a lot of money. Like, it is the holy grail to be the listing agent, have your sign in the yard. So it takes a really strong personality to throw away a potential $10,000, $25,000, $35,000 check to tell your clients it's not in their best interest to sell their home. Like, I probably would have made another 6 figures this year if I didn't tell people that it's in their best interest to keep that home. And yes, you can sell it, but here's why you shouldn't. Here's how you're gonna build true wealth when you don't sell the property. And they look at you and they go, oh my gosh, this is so simple, and everybody just wants to sell my house. And you can tell which agents are out for commission versus which agents are out for the true value of their client's portfolio. But see, what happens when you create wealth for people like this, then the market turns. They're so wealthy, they can buy all the time when the market turns. So then you're just helping these investors buy more properties for their portfolio, and you still get a paycheck because you did the right thing all the way along. Another thing to just remember about Automatic Millionaire Homeowner is they say you put everything automated, because let's say you've got 5 properties and now you've got 5 mortgage payments to pay, and make sure 5 utility payments are paid and all of that. So part of it is basically putting everything on auto pay. So each property should have its own bank account so that you can watch it and that things are on auto pay for it, and it's all automatic. But it was so cool to go away this summer, and like, this doesn't even go into, like, you guys have this whole Airbnb thing.
Yeah.
We bought a property in Santa Ana this summer. Holy crap, I shouldn't even live there. Like, we made more money being in Michigan, Airbnb-ing that property, than I would have if I stayed home. They paid my mortgage and like double. And so it's, yeah, I mean, there's just so many options that you have if you talk to your clients about it and tell them ways to build true wealth. So search for those. Search for the, the good tax people. Search for the good lenders that can help them get in with the lowest amount down so that they can achieve home ownership sooner. You're gonna have a lot of first-time buyers go, oh, but I need to save 20%. Like, you have to help educate them so that they don't have to save 20%. And I don't know. I wish I could kind of explain to you the difference that it makes when you teach these people and educate them about real estate versus just selling them another property or taking that order or taking that listing, because now you're creating a better society for all of us because we're all more educated, and then the market is less likely to crash. Like, if we know what we're doing and we're all doing it intelligently, then we're not going to run into all of the problems that we have previously. Because, the previous problem with loans and all of that, a lot of, people were being misinformed. They weren't being taught. They were like, oh, you can get a loan, you should get a loan. Well, no, that's not always the answer. Just because you can get a loan doesn't always mean that you should. So make sure that you're doing that education properly for your clients. And, one of the things that I do is I offer that book to anybody that's interested. So do a blog post and offer the book. And yeah, you'll pay $15 for the book, but if you are doing Zillow leads or pay-per-click leads or any of that, you'll come to find that a lead costs a lot more than $15. And then when you get that lead, half the time they're not educated, and if they don't buy into what you're saying, they're not going to work with you anyway. So you paid a lot of money to have time spent that didn't end up in a check. Whereas you're giving away those books, you're not paying a ton of money. You're creating an educated buyer that will buy not just one property with you, but properties for years and years to come. And then you turn around and when they have kids, you hand that kid the book when the kid gets out of high school. Here's your graduation present. I wish somebody had told, I don't know how, I didn't have somebody tell me that I should own real estate when I was young. Like, the way I ended up owning real estate was I owned a pit bull, and I didn't realize that you would get evicted from your apartment for having a pit bull. So, we were all walking on Venice Beach one day. It's a cute little puppy. Okay, let's take him home. And then 6 months later, the manager's like, no, you can't have that dog. And by then, the dog's part of the family, right? So it was either, so then we're like, okay, fine, we'll just find another apartment. Oh no, that breed of dog isn't covered under any apartment policy ever. So then it was like, oh, okay, then we'll just rent somebody's house. Well, would you, as a property owner, want to rent your house to 4 19-year-olds with a pit bull? No. So that, I was forced to buy or get rid of the dog. And it was, one of those sliding doors moments where, could have went right, could have went left. So glad I went the way that I did, kept the dog, and got the first condo. And, that was, I didn't know it, but that was 97 or 98. So I just went from there. And then, sold that condo because nobody had told me about the automatic millionaire at that point. God, I wish I still had that condo. It's one of my biggest regrets. But I didn't know about that, so I sold that one and bought the detached house so the dog would have a yard. And then, once the market went up again, sold that one and bought the house with the pool. So these are all things that, you guys can do and you can teach your clients to do. And it'll be a lot cooler while you're walking them through that. Do you guys got any questions for me about certain things that are, challenges for you right now for coming into the industry? I want to make sure that I take some time to answer your inquiries or concerns.
What was one of the ways you saved for your down payment on the condo?
Oh, I like that. Oh my gosh. Don't necessarily do what I did. Because I got into a condo that was $165,000 with an FHA loan. So FHA is 3.5% down. I literally got this slip on underneath my car windshield wiper that said, buy a home with $3,000 down. It was some real estate agent that was pulling something with his lender and I don't know what. But I was like, okay, I can come up with $3,000. The way I came up with $3,000 was I had one. I called the people that I was gonna rent rooms to, and I said, if you guys wanna move in, I've got a place, you guys eat, cause I was gonna rent with 4 other people. You guys each gotta pay me $250 security deposit, so that was my other grand. And I literally took a cash advance from a credit card for the last $1,000. So that's not the way to do it, but I was desperate and it worked. And it ended up working out in my favor. So what you should advise people of when it comes to buying their first property, how they can, is Automatic Millionaire Homeowner goes into it pretty well. It's something called the latte factor. Is all those, and I'm not making fun of you guys, but all the Starbucks on the desks, all that, like that's your latte factor. Like every day you buy something that you don't have to buy, but you buy it because you're comfortable and it makes you happy. So start putting that money into an account. And a lot of times too is just knowing the right real estate agent and lender, because now FHA allows you to have gift funds. So half the time these people really, if they only have $3,000, you can still serve them if you do it in the right way. So for example, when I talk to certain buyers and they have a will but not a way, those are my favorite people. I love you people that have a will but not a way. You're like my Midwestern hardworking folk. So I tell them, I say, you know, what we can do is if you qualify for, let's say, $300,000, and let's start looking at condos that are $275. Find one that is in the $275 range. We'll offer them over their asking price, and then the difference that we offered over the asking price can go towards closing costs, so that they don't have to, you know, put as big of a down payment down. And then I am like, and this is something too, don't be afraid to talk to people about getting gift funds. Like gift funds from parents or family are allowed in a lot of transactions. And I don't know about you guys, like, but I wouldn't want my kids living at home with me until they're 30, 35 years old. And no offense to any of you guys that are going to school, whatever. But a lot of times the parents are more than happy to give $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 to get the kid on their feet. So I've got an example of that. I was going out for a listing in a nice area, and the people were leaving to go out of town, and their daughter was 20 years old and she had a decent job. So I said to them, I said, what are you guys gonna do with your daughter? Because she's living with you right now and you guys are moving to Texas. And they said, well, she's welcome to move to Texas with us, but we don't think she wants to. And I said, well, have you guys ever considered, helping her out with a down payment on a California condo? Because what if you guys don't like it in Texas when you go, and then you'll still have some California property here, and you'll be setting her up to win, so that she's not paying off someone else's mortgage, that she's paying off, a family property mortgage, and we can go from there. And they called me the next day and they said, Angie, you're getting the listing, and we're gonna buy our daughter a house, and you're getting the listing because you came up with the idea to help our daughter. So, well, and that, like, it was a $750,000 house that I was selling, but then the daughter wanted to buy a $300,000. So what I also increased my income to over $1 million with, in commissionable, income. And it wasn't by doing anything that was like greedy for myself. It was like, okay, no, this is a way that your family can be super set up to win. Like, your daughter's paying on a property that is her own condo since she was 20 years old, and all you guys did was put down the down payment. Now you can go to Texas and not feel worried about her, where's she at, or her landlord kicked her out, or whatever, who knows what. So there's all these types of like fun win-win creative ways that you can come up with as a real estate agent if you think outside of the box enough. So, don't be afraid to do that and work with those people that are, the beginners. There's a lot of different ways to say. I think I saw somebody crowdfunding it the other day. So I don't know if that would be like a possibility, but the possibilities really are endless as long as the lender's okay with how they get the down payment money. Because that's the other thing. Like, the lenders source your funds now. So, like, when you're buying a property, so for example, one of the things that I had to do for getting the investment property was the lender didn't want, because my sister wasn't on the loan for that property, so the lender didn't want any money coming from her, they wanted it all coming from me. So we had to figure out creative ways that her money ended up being my money so that it all looked good to the lender. And those are things that, you know, you gotta work with certain lenders and know all of the ins and outs of what they have going on so that you can work the system accordingly so that you can get, you know, to the end result. And I'm not saying to lie, cheat, or deceive. You should do none of those things, but real estate's got a bunch of gray areas and you're totally fine to walk in the gray. Questions? Any thoughts that you guys have about the industry after hearing me talk?
When you said you were working like 60 to 80 hours a week when you first started, is that just because you wanted to live with like a good standard of living, or is that just because you had to do that to start your business?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like, I mean, you don't have to work. Nobody, like, I mean, I didn't have a gun to my head or anything like that, but I had a mortgage. So I had, you know, and I didn't want to lose my house. So if I didn't work hard enough to bring in the money to pay those bills, then what happens? You lose the house. You know, so that I had that motivation going for me. And that, you know, I will tell you guys, there were 2 times I almost lost my house as a real estate agent trying to run this business honestly, because you can't make your clients make a decision. You can't force your clients to buy or sell. You can't force that offer that's the price that the seller's gonna take. All you can do is just keep working hard. So I would encourage you to try to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of income saved so that you don't have to close a deal and that you can still live whatever your lifestyle is, you know, for that time. Because it's not always gonna be raking in money hand over fist. Like, it's, you know, those are rare times. So make sure that you live within your means, and then there's like all things on this little card, dude. Seriously, frame this. You know, living within your means is very important. I think, you know, it should be a goal to try to live off of the lowest amount possible. Like, for example, before the market crash,
Continue.
Okay. Before the market crash, my monthly out was like $13,000 a month. That's ridiculous for a 28-year-old or however old I was when that crashed. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't put yourself in a jail where you have to make $13,000 a month just to pay your bills. So then after the crash, I got everything all a lot more, you know, tightened up with the mortgage amounts and all that kind of stuff. And now I probably can get by with $4,000 a month. And I've got 3 houses. So it's something that, like, you should be proud with the lowest amount that you have to spend every month, because you can always pay higher towards your mortgage, you can always pay more towards your car payment, or you can always invest a chunk of money in something. But when you're in that, you know, vicious cycle of, I gotta pay this for marketing because I need that marketing to bring in this, and I gotta, you know, bring in this to pay that mortgage, and I've got no other way to pay that house that's vacant or whatever, then you're setting yourself up to lose. And look for those cycles in your clients too. Look for them like overextending, so that you can help be an advisor to them and keep them away from foreclosure and short sale. They're not fun things to do. Like, I've definitely been through both of them. Neither of them are fun. You don't want to do them again. But if you do, if that happens to you, know that that's not the end of the story unless you let it be. So, yeah, Kendrick.
Just a comment. I know Angie told you that she used to do internet marketing and stuff, but she was one of the pioneers of SEO, search engine optimization. So she knows how to do it. So the topics that NAR, CAR, and other organizations, they try to talk about SEO, she's been doing it from the beginning. She's been building websites and she understands SEO, so she has a competitive advantage. You kids in the class, you could come up with SEOs and do it yourself because you're on social media all the time. I see some of your Snapchats and I'm concerned, but other than that, I think you could build that, and with, Angie's Instagram, LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn now. Doesn't matter whether you're a professional now, if you say you're a student, many people will talk to you, because just the fact that you're a student. I would love to be in a position that I could learn more and things like that, right?
That's true. One of the things, like if I'm looking for a potential new team member, and that being said, if you guys are interested in being a part of our team, like I'm looking for more people, you don't have to go have your real estate license at this point. Like we want somebody that will blog and do social media and all that kind of stuff for us. I won't even consider you unless you have a LinkedIn profile. Like it's absolutely mandatory, because like the people that I introduce you to that are in my sphere are gonna expect you to have a LinkedIn profile. That's like a bare minimum. And I don't care about your Facebook profile. Like I think you should have one too. Like if you're gonna be serious about this industry, you should have a Facebook profile. But LinkedIn is what people, and I don't know if any of you Googled me, or you Google anybody, LinkedIn comes up on page 1 no matter what. So LinkedIn itself as a site has excellent SEO. So for that purpose and that purpose alone, you should be on there. And then make sure, what Kendrick said about SEO, like I don't necessarily believe that you're going to get a ton of business anymore coming up for Orange County first time buyer, or whatever county you're in and demographic. However, it's very important to be on the internet, and the perception that people have about you on the internet. Like nowadays, people don't expect any one agent to be on page 1 for an area when it comes to a city. But if you're looking to farm a geographic community, you better be on page 1 for that community. So those are all different things that you guys could be building right now. Like by the time I actually got my license, I was probably already on page 1 for Orange County first time buyer. And that got me the deals that I needed my first few years to, move things forward. I think for you guys now, like, we're talking literally 10 plus years ago. For you guys now, I think it's social and creating a social, sphere and community and all of that kind of stuff. But it's hard to rise above the noise socially. You gotta be, inspirational or funny or, something, because there's a lot of noise in social media. So be thinking about ways that you guys can stand out and make a difference.
Also, those of you that have some pics that should be hidden, keep it as private, okay? You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Martin. Stop videotaping your Pokemon Go sessions. Not cool. Any other questions for Miss Angie? She does have internships, paid opportunities for social media, blogging, whatever. If you're interested, you could either hit her up on social media, send her a message, connect with her, or when this class is over, privately come up to her and maybe exchange information.
Oh yeah, and if you guys want to like our business page, I'll put that on here too. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to all you guys today. Good luck to you in real estate. If there's anything that I can do to help you out, don't hesitate to be in contact.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before you leave, tomorrow we have a field trip by 1:30 at the Citrus Valley Association of Realtors. So when you come, some extra points for that, yeah?
Yeah, I need extra points. Yeah, I go. I'm going there. I'm going.
And I'll email you the addresses.
Yes, I'm going there.